61% of Americans agree that continued immigration into the country jeopardizes the United States. Black Lives Matter has posted a visual guide to urban riot gear in both English and Arabic. Caitlyn Jenner says Hillary Clinton doesn't care about women, and of all the women in America, he would know. And Donald Trump is succeeding in shaking the world order. My name's Howard Riell, and this is Real Truth. You're listening to the American Freedom Network, streaming live around the world at AmericanNewsNet.com, and on Facebook and YouTube and Tumblr, and in the book, Real Truth, Stay Angry. And of course, as always, broadcasting out across the Colorado Front Range on KHNC, Johnstown, Colorado, 1360 AM The Lion. Our call-in number, my friends, 877-254-7524. Welcome back. I hope you had a restful weekend. That's all done. Item from Reuters. Foreign diplomats are expressing alarm to U.S. government officials about the way what they say are inflammatory and insulting public statements by Republican presidential frontrunner Donald Trump, according to senior U.S. officials. Officials from Europe, the Middle East, Latin America, and Asia have complained in recent private conversations mostly about the xenophobic nature of Trump's statements, said 3 U.S. officials, all of whom declined to be identified. As the Trump rhetoric has continued and in certain cases amped up, so too have concerns by certain leaders around the world, said one of the officials. The 3 officials declined to disclose a full list of countries whose diplomats have complained, but 2 said they included at least India, South Korea, Japan, and Mexico. U.S. officials said it was highly unusual for foreign diplomats to express concern, even privately, about candidates in the midst of a presidential campaign. U.S. allies in particular don't really want to be seen as meddling in domestic politics, mindful that they will have to work with whoever wins. Stop. Wonderful! Good news! My friends, this is music to America's ears. Countries around the world take advantage of America terribly and have for decades and decades. We are the world's fall guy. We are the world's sap. We're losers, just like Donald Trump says. We lose every time we go to bat. Now that they see someone coming up to the White House who doesn't play business as usual, he's not an all-talk politician, not an ignoramus when it comes to negotiating, not someone who will blow left and right with the prevailing winds. Now they see someone coming who actually intends to represent America and represent it well. They are scared, and justifiably so. Because the United States of America, which has had a kick me sign on its back for decades, is about to pull that sign off. And it's about to turn around and start kicking them. Mexico, I don't want to hear anything about Mexico. They send their people here freely, illegally. They take advantage of us. Their drug cartels, their drugs are sweeping into America. I don't want to hear boo from Mexico. As for the Middle East is a jihadist cesspool. I don't want to hear anything from them either. They're afraid of Donald Trump. He is indeed shaking up the order because he's competent, he's determined, he's a man who is accomplished in his life. He's not some phony baloney politician who talks, sends out press releases, and then goes to play golf. So yes, I am delighted that the nations of the world are beginning to get a little bit of fear where the United States is concerned, because believe me, the more fear they have, the better off we are. Item from Bloomberg. 61% of Americans agree, quote, continued immigration into the country jeopardizes the United States, unquote, according to a new poll commissioned by management consulting firm A.T. Kearney that revealed pessimism across a wide range of issues. The degree of concern is remarkable considering that the question was all about immigration, including legal kind. Even Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump has said he supports legal immigration into the United States, unquote. My friends, legal immigration by whom? I have no problem with doctors, scientists, engineers, architects coming here to the United States, immigrating legally, and joining us, making America the greatest country in the world. But These ignorant, unwashed third world masses coming here and going directly to the welfare offices? No. No. Any country, not just the United States, any country has not just a right but an obligation to control who comes through its borders. We want people here in America who will add to America's greatness, add to our GDP, who will help fuel the engine, the economic engine that drives the world. We don't need anchors. We don't need dead weight. We don't need people on the dole who have nothing to offer. Those people should be stopped at the border. And hopefully under President Trump, they will be. Item from the Washington Examiner. There are a record 61 million immigrants and their American-born children in the United States, according to an estimated, including an estimated 15.7 million illegally here, according to a new analysis of 2015 U.S. Census data. The estimated number of undocumented immigrants is one of the highest ever. The analysis by the Center for Immigration Studies found that 45.3 million, or 3/4 of that 61 million, are legal immigrants and their children. The report out Monday, that's today, notes that the so-called Gang of Eight immigration bill supported by GOP presidential candidate Senator Marco Rubio would have doubled that number of legal immigrants. Unquote. So, my friends, people are talking about 11 million illegals. Not so. Even the Census Bureau says it's 15.7 million, close to 16, and I don't believe those numbers. Any government numbers are always skewed to make the government look less stupid and inefficient. I've heard in the last several months estimates by people that we've got upwards of 20 to 22 million illegals here. I think that's closer to the truth. Now that this new number has come out, it may be 25 million people here illegally. People here who are criminals. People who don't respect our laws. People who are here because they want a handout. People who are willing to make fools of the American people. Well, I'm here to tell you on this Monday afternoon, Americans are through being taken advantage of by the world. Through being made fools of, and that's number one on the list of things to do for Donald Trump. It's Monday. It's Real Truth. I got a lot of good stuff for you, my friends. Stick around. We'll be right back.
I'm Joe Jacobs, CEO of the Patriot Trading, and I would like to encourage everyone to make sure they are prepared financially as the Federal Reserve continues to destroy the value of the dollar. Since the closing of the gold window in 1971, the Federal Reserve has led the way in the explosion of debt and the devaluing of your money. They openly say that they need 2% inflation, which simply means they hope to devalue your money, and they want to do this every single year, year after year. I know it's hard to understand, but the Federal Reserve believes in prosperity through debt and growth via the devaluation of your future. To learn more about how to protect yourself, visit us at allamericangold.com or call us at 800-951-0592 and protect yourself against the devaluing of your money. And the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld His glory, the glory as of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. John bore witness of Him and cried out, saying, This was He of whom I said, He who comes after me is preferred before me, for He was before me. The Gospel of John, chapter 1, verse 14 and 15. No state shall enter into any treaty, alliance, or confederation, grant letters of marque or reprisal,
I'm back.
Coin money, emit bills of credit,
Just in case you couldn't notice.
but gold and silver coin a tender in payment of debts, pass any bill of attainder, ex post facto law, or law impairing the obligation of contracts, or grant any title of nobility. Article 1, Section 10.
All right, then. We've kicked this week off. Now we're going to keep on kicking. My friends, my name is Howard Riell. The show is named after me. It's called Real Truth, and that's what I intend to continue to present to you this August. It'll be 8 years. Where did the time go? Here's someone else who presents truth on a regular basis, Judge Jeanine Pirro on Fox News. As soon as I saw this on TV, I said to myself, Self, you got to put this on the air so my listeners on KHNC can hear this. Judge Jeanine is about to put her entire leg up the ass of Mitt Romney. Believe me, no one in recent memory has deserved it more. Let's listen.
Hello and welcome to Justice. I'm Judge Jeanine Pirro. Thanks for being with us tonight. There's an insurrection coming. Mitt Romney just confirmed it. We've watched governors, the National Review, conservative leaders, establishment and party operatives trash Donald Trump. But Mitt Romney will always be remembered as the one who put us over the edge and awoke a sleeping giant, the silent majority, the American people. Fact, the establishment is panicked. Mitt essentially called for a brokered convention where the Republican nominee will be selected by party activists and delegates, irrespective of their state's choice. The call? To vote for whomever has the best chance of beating Donald Trump. You want a brokered convention? A primer, Mitt. Whenever we have one, we lose. Dewey and Ford emerged from a brokered convention to lose the general election. So why? Because the party elites and elders want to protect us and stop us from falling into the abyss? Mitt, I'm sure you and your cronies don't feel this, but most of us working 2 and 3 jobs think we're already in the abyss, the Obama abyss, and most of us scared about our safety and security. And you want to prevent us from falling into a recession? We don't believe any of you. That's why outsiders are so strong in both parties, while the insiders seek a brokered convention or superdelegates to guarantee their own positions. You're panicked, not for us, but because you're worried about losing power. The lobbyists, the pharmaceutical companies, the power brokers, the lawmakers who are willing to invest in absurd pensions our children can't possibly pay for their own short-term political survival. We are sick and tired of legislators with modest means who leave Congress multi-millionaires whose spouses and families get all the contracts from selling the post offices to accessing insider information so they can buy property and flip it. You're so entrenched that you're willing to give Hillary Clinton a win. It doesn't matter to you which party. Crony capitalism and its paradigm will not change for the elite. Let the American people suffer along the way. You know, Mitt, if you're so concerned about our country, where were you when Barack Obama lied to us, saying we could keep our health care and our doctor? Where were you when the GSA wasted millions of our dollars for stupid conferences? When the military suffered as the VA was run like a piggy bank for corrupt employees? When the IRS went after conservative 501c3 applicants while the Clinton Foundation runs one of the biggest 501c3s in the world, which strikes me as a money laundering organized criminal enterprise parading as nothing more than a shell to pay campaigners and Clinton operatives to secure Hillary's election. And you say you're offended by Donald Trump's language. Politicians have been trashing each other since the founding fathers. Language so horrible that I can't even repeat on the air. You're so offended by Trump's language, but not Barack Obama's condemnation of those who cling to God and guns. And you're worried about Donald Trump's businesses? You, Mitt, were a corporate raider who threw people out of work and sent jobs out of our country. And you don't like Donald's temperament and judgment? You couldn't even stand up to CNN's Candy Crowley. You couldn't even get elected when the nation was ripe for a Republican president. And 70 foreign policy security experts say, quote, Mr. Trump's own statements lead us to conclude that as president, he would use the authority of his office to act in ways that would make America less safe and diminish our standing in the world. Are those bozos talking about Barack Obama? And they go on to say that he poses a distinct threat to civil liberties in the United States. Really? I'm worried about the civil liberties of Americans who've had their heads cut off and those killed in workplace violence. Did you criticize that? No. You want us to vote for Rubio? Why? What has he done? Aside from having one of the largest absentee voting records in the history of the U.S. Senate. And you complain about Trump University. Mitt, mind explaining your connection to Full Sail University, which knew how to, quote, hold down the cost of their education when in truth it was one of the most expensive colleges in America, when the owners were top donors to you through Solar Capital? Remember? You were an original investor there. And how about Vandertot College, where Ferguson's Michael Brown was about to attend, and your pals were about to cash his federal financial loan? Your namby-pamby reason that you won't support Donald Trump even if he's the party's nominee? You worry what you'll tell your grandchildren when they ask, why, Grandpa, didn't you stop Donald Trump? Well, maybe you ought to worry about when they ask about your loss to Barack Obama. What are you going to tell them? Will you tell them that you choked? And I don't care if he supported Democrats, Republicans, or Martians. He was a businessman. And I don't care if he said Putin was a strong leader he could get along with. Hell, Hillary Clinton hit a reset button with Russia. And you're worried about Putin when Barack Obama dances with the devil in Iran? Mitt, I never knew you were such a patriot. And you say Donald's arrogant. He says things that you don't, but things that you think. Your acts are more arrogant than his words. And Mitt, you lost your own state, Massachusetts, which was the second worst home state loss in presidential election history. And Trump won 49% of Massachusetts. Donald Trump is bringing in record numbers of Americans. He's doing more to add to our ranks than any of your anemic get-out-the-vote operations. Yes, there's an insurrection coming. We're fed up. We're sick of the lies, the veils, and the games you talk about immigration, yet no one has done anything since the last amnesty in 1986. While we continue to pay for education, medication, housing, while families like Kate Steinle's, murdered by an illegal deported 5 times, convicted 7 times, suffer behind backdoor budget hearings. You continue to fund sanctuary cities that thumb their noses at American victims. You talk about overspending in the government and the deficit, and it's only gotten bigger. You take our money in the form of taxes, waste it away while you feather your own nest. From Bob Dole to John McCain to you, Mitt Romney, and almost another Bush. The party elite cannot win. Don't be small, Mitt. Remember our history. Remember when we were fed up with a monarchy? Be careful. Be very, very careful. Do not disrespect the man who makes sense to us, because when you disrespect him, you disrespect the will of the American people. And that's not a good place to be. And that's my open. Tell me what you think on my Facebook page. Or
I'll tell you what I think right now, Judge. I think you're right on. I think you're terrific. I think you speak the truth. And I think Mitt Romney is a piece of crap. And you called it exactly right. Item from Breitbart. A Black Lives Matter activist who was part of the Ferguson riots posted a visual guide to urban riot wear in both English and Arabic on Twitter. The tweet is significant because it was posted by Ashley Yates, who used the handle @BrownBlaze on Twitter. Yates is a prominent protest organizer in the Black Lives Matter movement who's an advocate for violence. The Guardian quoted her in 2014 during her involvement with the Ferguson protest as follows, quote, "If they can't serve justice in this, the people have every right to go out and express their rage in a manner that is equal to what we've suffered," said Ashley Yates. co-founder of Millennial Activists United, who was arrested last week while protesting in Ferguson. Unquote. My friends, what's this business about posting riot wear in Arabic? Is Black Lives Matter seeking to partner in some way with disaffected Muslims, maybe Muslims who've been jihadized, who are going out for ISIS, Muslims who want to strike at the American people? Is that a fitting partner for Black Lives Matter? Do you believe that Black Lives Matter would partner with people who want to destroy America? I do. Item from Breitbart. House Speaker Representative Paul Ryan is ruling out making any cuts to Muslim immigration. In an interview with Sean Hannity on Fox News, Ryan declared that considering an applicant's religion would not be appropriate and would be fundamentally un-American, insisting, quote, "That's not who we are," unquote. Mr. Ryan, schmuck, who we are is a country that's smart and savvy and survives. That's what America is. And by excluding Muslims, as Donald Trump wants to, and by going a step further and excluding Muslims who are here, and closing mosques and surveilling mosques, we're doing what America does. America is smart, and it's savvy, and it plays to win. And if that's not the America you're comfortable with, Mr. Ryan, then hasta la vista. Item from the Washington Post. U.S. companies stashed another $200 billion in profits overseas last year, escaping billions in taxes and escalating a battle with Congress over the country's complex tax code. Stop. This is what Donald Trump has been talking about. Repatriating all the money, all the billions, trillions of dollars, trillions of American dollars that have gone overseas because the United States is a hostile environment for the businesses who own those trillions of dollars. Trump's plan is simple. You take away the toxicity, you give those businesses every reason to bring those trillions of dollars back into the United States. You cut waste, you cut fraud, the next thing you know, we're flush. We are infinitely better off economically than we have been. That's how Donald Trump plans. That's how he was able to build a $10 billion empire while politicians have their hands under the table. Item from northcrane.com. Rumors spiral after Nancy Reagan made her final appeal to the American people. Make America great again, vote for Trump. While this may have been the most crucial endorsement of this election, without any doubt, Nancy Reagan's endorsement was the most coveted of all endorsements. Donald Trump being endorsed by Nancy Reagan would quite possibly be the greatest achievement of his entire campaign. Item from the Daily Caller. Caitlyn Jenner said Hillary Clinton doesn't care about women. During the season premiere of I Am Kate Sunday night, Jenner was on a bus tour with a group of transgender women when he said he didn't want to stop at the Democratic debate. It's the last place I want to be, Jenner said, but I'm open. We need both sides, and if we're unfortunate enough to get Hillary as our next president, we need her on our side, although she won't be. She couldn't care less about women. She cares about herself. Unquote. My friends, it's refreshing to hear truth spoken forcefully by a woman, a man who was a man. She was a. Oh, forget it. Item from NowTheEndBegins.com. Headline: Germany bans sausages. Pork banned in cafes and schools in order not to offend refugees. An increasing number of public canteens, child daycare centers, and schools have stopped serving pork, sausages, bacon, and ham over religious considerations. Now members of Chancellor Angela Merkel's CDU party are fighting to keep pork on the menu. Stop! So Germany has banned pork products so as not to offend Muslims. Well, that's really, really nice, but you know, I'm thinking, and I'm going back to history, I don't remember Germany banning pork products in order not to offend its Jewish citizens. Yeah. We'll be right back, my friends. Real Truth marches on.
We all know that our government is out of control. What are the point the people in it? How can we, the people, bring it back to the people?
Ian, did you hear Marco Rubio on with Rush today?
I did not. I watched him on Hannity last night.
Article 4. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall be issued but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the places to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. Piccolo's restaurant in Denver reminds us that over 750,000 children were reported missing last year. Over 58,000 of these were abducted by non-family members. Keep an eye out for youngsters at play, and if you see anything suspicious, contact the authorities immediately. This message from Piccolo's restaurant in Denver is not only the best Italian and Mexican cuisine, it's the people who care. Give them a call at 303-757-5166. 303-757-5166. Piccolo.
Guys, it's one of the things that plagues me. I'm being very, very, very open here. One of the things that plagues me, I hear people who have made it, people who are millionaires, people who are captains of industry, governors of states, big shot politicians, businessmen, movie stars. I hear them saying the same things that I say. And I wonder, how come they're big shots and I'm not? But that's for another time. Here's a big shot and a guy I respect a lot, former Governor Mike Huckabee, saying basically what I've said for a long time. You know, I said I hope it never ever happens, but given the way the politicians in this country are taking advantage of the American people and cheating us and stabbing us in the back, it's a wonder we haven't found any of them swinging from lampposts. Well, here's Mike Huckabee saying basically the same thing on Fox News. Let's listen.
People are angry and they feel like, let's give somebody a chance who is totally disconnected from all of those people.
Well, to that point, the fact that the establishment is orchestrating this effort using a nominee who lost the election back in 2012, now making the case for anyone else but Trump, what does it say about the fact that they still don't get it, about what's happening out there with the electorate?
Well, and the most glaring things that happened in that Romney speech was that he hit Trump over not releasing tax returns. Mitt Romney didn't release his own tax returns until 6 weeks before the election in September of 2012. He hit him for having inherited wealth. Now think about the irony of that. Mitt Romney, who inherited vast amounts of wealth, hitting Donald Trump for having inherited wealth. Then he hit him over some of the businesses that didn't work out that Donald Trump founded. Bain Capital had 22% of their businesses that didn't work out that went Chapter 11. It's part of the process if you're a major entrepreneur. And then to hit him over the tax returns and to say, I bet there's some stuff in there, when that's exactly what Harry Reid tried to do to Mitt Romney back in 2012. The whole thing was surreal. What I don't think the establishment folks are getting, there is an overthrow of our government taking place before our eyes. And they need to be grateful that it is a revolution by ballots, not bullets. But the people are rising up and they're angry. And Uma, this is not the traditional horizontal election. And the reason the establishment doesn't get it is they say, yeah, but Trump's not as conservative as he ought to be. People don't care. Because this is not an election about left and right, liberal, conservative, Democrat, Republican. It's not horizontal, it's vertical. They're asking, can you take us up instead of down? Will you help us win instead of lose? And they believe Donald Trump is the person, at least right now, who can do that, and that's why they're voting for him.
You know, in this week's debate, the candidates reasserted their pledge to support the Republican nominee, whoever it happens to be. However, behind the scenes, we continue hearing talk on a contested or brokered convention this summer. And if this should happen, do you predict a real uprising amongst the grassroots, as you're pointing out, of people who want to know that this is a real insurgency and not a temper tantrum? It's a movement.
It is a movement, and it's not just a movement about Donald Trump. It's a movement against the ruling class, who have done the duty of the donor class for so long at the expense of the working class, that those folks out there in America who can't pay their bills, who can't send their kids to college, whose wages are lower today than they were 20 years ago, and they've lost their pensions, and they're getting pink slips like those folks at the Carrier plant, 1,400 of them, told their jobs are going to Mexico. It's that vast number of people out here in America who are just saying enough. You know, Washington has the 6 most prosperous counties that surround it. 6 of the 10 most prosperous counties in the whole country. They don't make anything. They don't make iPhones. They don't make cars. They don't make airplanes. They make government. And it's a recession-proof town. People are sick of watching the handful of the ruling class continue to do well at the expense of those who are trying just to make a living. This is classic Louis XIV, Marie Antoinette versus the people, and the people have had enough.
And really quickly, do you...
The people have had enough, and as Huckabee said, as I have said, the ruling elite should take a lesson before, God forbid, things get violent. Because if this isn't stopped, I'm afraid things will get violent. Nobody wants to see that. So accept the Donald Trump presidency. Work with him. You've made your money. You've got your influence. Work with him to, as he says, make America great again. Because if you don't... Item from the Associated Press, Dateline, Tehran, Iran. An Iranian court has sentenced a well-known tycoon to death for corruption linked to oil sales during the rule of former President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, the judiciary spokesman said Sunday. Babak Zanjani and 2 of his associates were sentenced to death for money laundering, among other charges, unquote. Well, my friends, I haven't got a lot of good things to say about Iran, but sentencing fat cats to death for white-collar crimes like money laundering, I think it's a good idea. Item from thehill.com, conservative talk radio host Rush Limbaugh said on Sunday that there's, quote, a much bigger upside than downside in the Republican presidential candidacy of real estate developer Donald Trump. I think with the case of Trump, there's a much bigger upside than downside, said Limbaugh while appearing on Fox News Sunday. Limbaugh also said he believes the divide between the Republican establishment and conservatives is, quote, longer, broader, wider than I have ever seen it, unquote. Question to all those conservatives out there in government and all the pundits who are so worried that Donald Trump is not a pure conservative. I got a little question for you. What the hell have the pure conservatives in Washington, D.C. done for America or for the Republican Party? And exactly how conservative are they? They roll over, they grab the ankles every time Barack Obama wants something. They fund every one of Barack Obama's initiatives. Their idea is to show America the way we can be liberal too. So where are the conservatives that you're clinging to, that you're comparing Donald Trump to? On the major issues, Second Amendment, immigration. Donald Trump is quite to the right. He is quite conservative. Get off this business about calling Donald Trump not a conservative. Donald Trump is a winner. He's a maker, not a taker. And the fat cats in Washington are not makers, but they are takers. Item. From the Holy New York Times, Dateline Miami. The United States government's been paying to feed and shelter thousands of Cubans trying to migrate to the United States in what critics consider another sign of the lopsided treatment provided to Cubans under American law. Unquote. My friends, what is not included in this little snippet is the United States is paying to feed and shelter thousands of Cubans who are currently in another country. They left Cuba, they went somewhere else, and you and I are paying to feed them. That's the kind of crap that must stop. Post haste, ipso facto. Item from Politico. Former Democratic presidential candidate Jim Webb won't be voting for Hillary Clinton, but he has not ruled out casting his ballot for Donald Trump. Webb, who briefly flirted with an independent bid before deciding against it, said on Friday morning the Democratic frontrunner was not inspirational. Quote, "I would not vote for Hillary Clinton," he said on MSNBC's Morning Joe. When asked whether he'd vote for Trump, Webb said he wasn't closed to the idea. Quote, "I'm not sure yet. I don't know who I'm going to vote for," he said. Item. From the Clarion Ledger, civil rights activist Charles Evers is endorsing Donald Trump for president, touting what Evers refers to as the current Republican frontrunner's business acumen. Evers is the brother of slain civil rights leader Medgar Evers. We'll take a break. Real Truth will go on.
Howdy, folks. Have you ever thought about having your own backyard chicken?
My friends, please share this video. Everyone on the planet needs to see it. Now, we may not get everyone on the planet, but I want to get at least 6 to 6.5 billion people watching this show. So do your part. I'll be back tomorrow. Hasta lumbago.